Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a Trip Over Radio Show, and alternative means of psychedelic masturbation. Here we are at S.STREET Media, Brooklyn, Queens-ish area, depending on where your GPS tells you where you are. How you doing? It is Wednesday. It's the last Wednesday of the month before Doomsday, or
exactly
Election Day for all of you white people that want to call it officially what it's called. How everybody doing? This is a special night for all of us in here at the Trip Over Radio Show. You know, we got special people going on in there and stuff like that. And there's a lot going on and stuff. So, so it's kind of pressed for time. I'm going to skip off the trippy news, what we usually do. I have to go into my introductions and know everybody's got to get their rocks off and, who they are. Of course, you know me. Host and coast. Will BK, you know me.
Big Will.
Yeah, Big Will, Still adjusting these teeth because they just can't find the right place to put them, but just sticking there for at least the next hour.
I can tell you where to put them.
Okay. So
They look good, though.
Thank you very much. If you spend $20, I can know. All right. To my left.
Your other left.
Yeah, to my left, her right. It is our resident cuddlist extraordinaire, cutie with the big booty. She's got a really big booty for a gypsy girl. It is Jenner G.
Peace, everybody.
How you doing? To everybody, Jenner G. Of course, we got our resident weirdo up in the house right here, Dr. Strange himself, Hardy Brooklyn. Yeah, of course. And then we have our special guests up in here. We got like 3 guests up in here today, but our main guest it is, and then we got our main guest 1A. Right here we have Timbisa M. Shaka. She creative executive, author, producer, filmmaker, voiceover queen, activist, and entertainment industry executive. I'm gonna say that one.
That's an impressive list.
I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Feeling the love. Thanks so much for having me.
And we usually don't have a DJ. Usually we used to have a DJ, but I kind of toned down the DJ thing because they was stealing a lot of my shine. So I
cannot have that.
So for our special DJ for tonight, we have Rocksteady, Karen Von Ketamine.
Dope to have a woman DJ up in here when I'm here. I appreciate that.
Karen, you're really hot.
Thank you.
I'm like, shit, like, damn, that's a hot piece. Ow. And then later on in the show, we have another designer. We kind of rocked his shirt a couple of weeks ago, and he'll be sitting in on us, and maybe you might be drawing some things and whatnot, and whatnot.
Koala Clothier.
That's right, Koala. What is it? It's
Clothier.
Oh, Koala Collier.
Clothier.
Well, I'll let you say it. Because I got these teeth, so it's tripping over my teeth. So I can't, it won't flow up.
Pronunciation is difficult.
Yeah.
Clothier, like clothing.
Yeah.
Clothing line.
That.
Urban couture.
Yeah. Yeah, peanut. So, but we'll get to them. So everybody, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Trip Over Radio Show.
It's exciting to have a full house like this.
I know this is old school, the way it used to be, So I'm not going to talk about my buttage too much tonight.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. So we don't have to have that conversation tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
We're really appreciative.
So we're going to start off with Timbisa. Timbisa, I'll start off by saying this. Timbisa and I have known each other for at least 25.
Yeah, at least.
At least 25 years.
At least.
Do you remember the first time we met?
Probably at Gavin, right?
No.
Or was it at Sony?
I was at Def Jam. The first time we first met was at the Def Jam Unplugged.
Okay.
That was the first time that we met.
Gosh, that was a lifetime ago.
And the big thing that happened that day was when Redman and his DJs was fighting the sound people on stage. That was our first time that me and her met. That was crazy.
Wow, like actually fighting.
Yeah, because I guess somebody was taking too long. And Redman did his whole set, and the sound people's coming across the stage in front of him, moving stuff. And Redman pushed one of the twins, and he punched the sound guy, and they had this all-out brawl right there on stage. And I was with a contest winner. I had to leave him, and then it went outside, and then they had us cornered. And then the cops had us cornered with the horses in front of us, and that whole thing was crazy.
So the sound people know that they're always going to be the ones that they catch the blame. It's not always warranted. But, with somebody like Redman, who is real clear that he's not to be trifled with, like, just...
Yeah, and he's from Brick City. Was it Newark, too?
Yeah.
He's definitely from Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, Orange, that's right.
Jersey, stand up. So, yeah, can't be playing with
Stand
Reggie.
up.
Can't do that.
That's a little stand up, because I'm not really from Jersey. So as you know, so we're gonna kind of get right into it. And you know what? Before we even get into it, I got one more other question before we get into it. It was a couple of weeks ago. Well, actually, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had a debate about your favorite MC, Lauryn Hill. In case you didn't know.
I mean, she's definitely in my top 10. She's not my favorite, and that is absolutely no shade. But she is, as someone who sharpened my steel as a creative, like, I have the utmost respect for Lauryn Hill, because her album Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was the first campaign that I wrote for Sony. So I don't tolerate any Lauryn Hill slander. Like, I love
like your
her,
baby,
and
right?
I think that she is a musical genius and is a legendary performer, and somebody who not only set the bar but raised the bar for hip-hop, R&B, live performance, for black women's styling and presentation within hip-hop, like all of that. So,
and that's your illustration of her cover, her art cover.
No. I write advertising. So the cover, I believe, was designed by the art director, who at that time was Erwin Guristiza. So he might have had a photographer shoot an image and then had that treatment done where it looked like it was etched into this high school desk. But no, I am not a visual artist. I'm a writer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I was responsible for the TV spots, the radio spots, the outdoor advertising campaigns, the posters, the little stickers you would see on the vinyl, anything that had to do with, writing to sell the album. Yeah.
Marketing and
exactly.
And it's funny during that time the issue was that within the rap community they felt that her album Miseducation of Lauryn Hill should not be deemed the greatest hip hop album of all time. And a lot of, especially men, of course, mostly men, all the men pretty much do not agree that that's not so. But they can't really, but at the same time, they can't pin down what should be.
Well, I mean, everybody has their ideas about what it should be, and it's not necessarily a competition. But I think to try to, make it seem like miseducation shouldn't be in that conversation is really disingenuous, and it comes across to me as just really being gender biased. Like, if, to kind of bring it sort of to the present day, like somebody who is greatly influenced by Lauryn, Rhapsody, who just won the BET Hip Hop Award for Lyricist of the Year last night, her album Eve, had a man done that album, it would have been like nonstop press, magazine covers everywhere,
in rotation,
rotation all over the place. That album is, to me, hands down, the album of 2019 as far as hip hop is concerned, and it just did not get the love or attention that it should have gotten. And I think a lot of that has to do with because it came from a woman. So that issue is still prevalent because patriarchy is still prevalent. Folks can't really get with this idea of gender equality, of a woman being able to do anything creatively that a man could do and maybe do it better.
Right.
Why is it so important, this particular election, when you talk about the significance of Kamala
Kamala.
Kamala. Oh,
Kamala.
damn.
From
I look-
my home state of California, West Side.
You're getting emails from her every day. You would think
Yeah.
that you'd be able to pronounce her name right.
Yeah, I do get mad.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala
He
Harris.
always tells me, Kamala and Joe hit me up today.
Yeah, they need $5 or $10 more. $5 or $10 more.
Hey man, whatever gets them to the finish line is way too much at stake. I voted today.
Oh.
For you.
Okay.
Now, do you think it would? It still would have the same significance. It still would have the same important significance had he picked another black female vice president. Do you think it would still have the same impact, whether it was Susan Rice or one of those other ones?
Well, I think it would have been historic for that reason, and so regardless, it would have made headlines and sort of occupied the news cycle for a bit. But I think because Kamala Harris had just finished competing with him in the Democratic primary, it made it more significant that he was able to kind of reach back for her and say, you know what, you are who I need. He actually listened to the black community when they said we need a black woman candidate. I mean, he initially said, I'm going to have a woman partner with me on this ticket, but then took some counsel and then ended up selecting Kamala. And I think it was huge because they had just had that primary contest, but also because Kamala Harris has been in full gangsta mode in the Senate, on the various committees that she sits on, and really been forthright at taking it to the GOP. Like, she's bringing all her prosecutor chops to the Senate, and that scares them. So I
And
think
she's
it's
a woman.
Yeah.
So just the woman
yeah,
part is.
and she's a
Yeah,
woman,
it's
and she's
men,
also
a lot of men.
she's also she also shares identity with the Asian community, being that she has Indian parentage, and then the Caribbean community, being that her people are from Jamaica. So there's a lot of opportunity for affinity among different groups because of who she identifies as, and she brings all of that to the table.
Do you believe that the flack that she has been getting, being a prosecutor during that time, that Obama, I don't know if it was from the Obama administration or was it pre-Obama?
Well,
in terms of
initially, I
that-
believe she was a district attorney, and then she became the prosecutor, or no, sorry, attorney general.
Yes, the
Attorney
Attorney
General.
General.
Yeah.
Attorney General.
So, all of that happened during the Obama administration, and maybe some a little bit from before, but I'm not sure how long her tenure was in each position. I think that she has a lot to clarify in terms of her record, and I have yet to see. I mean, we got 7 more days of campaigning left. I have yet to see, anyone from the media approach her about her record in her previous posts. So I'm curious to see if she's going to speak on that, because she only had one debate, and she really had to play defense during that debate. So,
The whole time.
I didn't expect her to offer up a mea culpa for, missteps in her career, because when you're a woman in politics at that level, that's not what you do. You move the ball forward in the direction that you want it to move in. So I'm curious to see what media might ask of her and how she responds when it comes to her record in her previous post. But the thing that I really go to with this is, during the primary cycle, there was much opportunity to ask those questions and to kind of get that stuff out. So, we'll see if that happens on the national stage with her now as, the candidate on the ticket with Joe Biden. But if it does not, what I go back to is that she is running for vice president of the United States. That's a completely different job than, who she is in the Senate, who she was, as a prosecutor. So, I hope that people can really see the significance of the moment and understand that, we have an opportunity not only to make history, but to make herstory, and that we have somebody who is more aligned with a positive direction for the country, right? Because these candidates are not running to be president and vice president of male America or female America or black America or immigrant America. They're running to be president and vice president of all of America. And so if they are going to move the country in a direction that is a 180 from what we're currently experiencing, which is, wanton race baiting, call dog whistles to violence. I mean, we're seeing white supremacists in rare, bold-faced form. I mean, they literally tried to kidnap a governor. So,
More than one.
yeah, and we're at a place now where there's too much at stake to be quibbling about what she did in her last job. So, I respect healthy debate, but I'm also really clear that we have to move this country in a different direction.
It's interesting because to me, Trump is the one candidate that there is that separation because he's only about Republicans from this point. So it's not about him being the president of the people, of the American
Right.
people. It's about him being the president of the Republicans.
Yeah,
he's real clear about
really
that.
his own family.
Right, he's real clear about that.
Yeah,
too.
so we gotta take our country back, like literally.
For sure.
It's being held hostage, and trust and believe that Vladimir Putin is listening. Like I feel like, and I'm going to say when because I'm calling it into the universe. I'm like, please retrograde, do not act a fool during this
That's got
last
everything
few
all fucked
days.
up.
Okay, that's why people are voting in person. They don't want any glitches with their situation. When we have a new administration, like I really want for them to be like, so check it before we go into any of these residences, the White House, Camp David, wherever. We need all the comms hardwired. We need the place fumigated. Y'all got to fix that sinkhole. Like
Right.
y'all got to get it together because to me, all of those places have been compromised. As far as I'm concerned, he's an op. If you want to fraternize with dictators and prime ministers like Vladimir Putin, like you ain't for America.
And not even standing up when you're called out on it. He's not even saying, yeah, I'm going to do something about that. He's like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. He always kind of plays dumb or makes up some lie.
And he does a really good job of legitimizing them to his followers. Like, so
Oh,
all
yeah.
these, the North Korea was
Indeed,
not a
yeah.
government that we ever negotiated with. Nobody talked to them. And then all of a sudden now, we're like negotiating with them. They're just like as if they're in.
They're having a bromance.
Yeah, and so for us as citizens, we have to draw the line at negotiating with domestic terrorists, and to me, that's who 45 with the asterisk because he's an impeached president.
Right.
Okay, an impeached president who just wasn't removed because of the fealty that the GOP holds for him. We have to stop negotiating with domestic terrorists. Period. You gotta go.
Yeah.
And he's shook. I still haven't seen a plan.
I
That's
mean,
all
He
this
never-
rallying and campaigning
he keeps
he's
saying
doing.
in 2 weeks we're going to have
There's
something in 2
no-
weeks.
like,
We're going to have
what are you
something. He's been saying
saying?
that for like a year.
Like we got 226,000 people dead from COVID. What are you talking
and
about?
he keeps saying we're turning the corner. We're turning the corner, and
Well,
it's going away. It's going to disappear.
They did finally admit that they have no control and no idea what to do, and they're going to just let it run its course. That
See,
was
but
their
this is the
take
crazy.
yesterday.
This is the crazy part about that, right? Is that the Obama administration, of which Joe Biden was a part, had 2 pandemics, and they dealt
Yes,
with
that's
them.
correct.
Right, and they had
And
a
they
whole
had a
task force.
playbook, and they had a task force, and
That
they
was
threw
killed.
the playbook in the furnace, and they dismantled the task force.
The funding was
So,
taken away.
And they knew how bad it was in February, and the tapes revealed that.
December.
Yeah,
Well, that right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found out that he knew and said, and didn't say anything in February. But you're absolutely right. So, we have a situation where he's actively working against the best interests of the country, and
Yes,
and
he's
that's,
definitely working against
agree with
every
that
citizen. in this
100%.
country.
and you don't get to run the country if you're working against the country, as far
No.
as I'm concerned.
Now my thing is that it's very surprisingly that since hip hop has always been we're not a political genre, but we do deal with certain type of politics. It might be more street politics that we do deal with, but we've still been instrumental when it comes to platforms in terms of disseminating messages and,
sure.
and
Police
and
brutality.
stuff like that. Exactly, police brutality.
Yeah, I definitely
high
think that we
crime.
are an issues-based genre. Like, whatever is happening in our community that we take issue with and, we feel we need to speak on, we're going to do that. So, yeah, we may or may not align with particular parties or what have you and be political sort of in that structural sense. But in terms of taking a stand on issues of concern, absolutely, that's what hip-hop is all about. I mean, it started out as an alternative to gang violence. So, it's in its DNA to address, issues of concern.
And I also I read the article that you had forwarded, which I say, wow. Some of it I kind of realized, and some of it I didn't realize, in terms of Trump will actually have a relatively, it might not make a dent, so to speak, in Joe Biden's numbers as it relates to groups that's voted for him, but he actually may have a healthy support group from black males.
Yeah, it's a segment that he feels like he can connect with, and that he feels like he can peel off a couple percentage points with. And as we saw with 2016, Hillary Clinton literally lost that election behind 77,000 votes across 3 states in the Electoral College. So it really doesn't take much. You peel off a couple points. You send a state going in one direction, based on a couple districts and how they respond, and then those electoral numbers get away from you, and all of a sudden you got all these millions of popular votes. Like Hillary Clinton had 3 million popular votes, probably the most of any candidate in modern presidential history, and at least from what I've read, and still lost.
At the Electoral College vote, I feel like it takes away it being the choice of the people who they want, because you
I
can
agree
see that by
100%.
And there are a lot of
Populist vote.
there are a lot of loopholes that he can use to stay in office.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the Electoral College needs to go away. In my opinion, it's a holdover from slavery. It doesn't reflect, the population of the country currently, and it's got to go. It's antiquated.
And we need to move to more mail-in voting, where it's not dependent on the day of the week when minorities don't have the ability, and like the
And
lower-income
working people,
right.
yeah.
Right, anybody working.
And early voting really should be
All the
a
time.
fixture for every election,
and
local,
encouraged.
municipal, midterms, presidential. I mean, just knowing that I have a week to schedule my life around instead of
Yeah.
compressing it all into one day and hoping, I get it done.
And that you're not
is
there
huge.
like people that are waiting in line for 4 hours to try to
Yeah.
vote right now in some
Yeah.
states.
So what do you, and if you can't answer, so what is it, so how do you take it, what does it mean to not just the genre but the country when people such as Ice Cube is making side negotiations with Trump, or you have Kanye and his campaign aspirations, or looking at Herschel Walker, another one, supporting him. I mean, at one time, Trump really was in the hip hop. He was on a lot of hip hop verses. A lot of people
They partied with him.
and,
They
yeah.
found him to be
So
aspirational.
he didn't technically lie, say I have a great relationship with the blacks, unless you talk about the blacks as neighbors.
the
But-
select
but-
ones that he, would hang out with just so that he could continue to kind of keep himself relevant. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
remember, it's a two-way street, right?
wanna
It
hear
allowed
his
him
name.
to look cool
And look relevant.
and all of that. So,
He wasn't doing it because he was like, real, I really
Right,
love
so-
you, man.
yeah, because clearly he's a
It's
racist.
like-
I mean,
Right.
during that same time that, MCs were, shouting him out on their records, he was discriminating against, his workers, not paying them. There were lawsuits that were being brought for racial discrimination against him and his real estate properties. So the
Central
racism has
Park
always
5.
been there. Central Park 5 and the ad calling for, the execution of
Yeah.
those young men. Like,
Of all
that's
innocent
who he's
men.
always been. I mean, and when Hillary was running against him, she tried to pull all the receipts. She had been a senator in New York. She had fraternized with him too. She knew who he was. She tried to tell America. They don't want to listen. But back to your question, what it comes down to for me is that, celebrities are not thought leaders. Like, that's
For
really
sure.
it.
Right.
If you're a recording artist, of course, you're going to express your opinion or your point of view through your art, and that's how it should be. But in terms of, being somebody who is going to be able to move the needle on policy, or someone who is going to be able to do more than the influencing that comes with your celebrity, like, you got to turn that over to the people who are in the trenches doing that work. And if you're not going to consult with the people that you say you're representing, then your message is going to fall flat, or it's going to get holes poked in it. My main thing about the contract with Black America is like, well, what about Black women and children? Like, it really seems like it's about, men and economics and business, and it's not really addressing things like healthcare, education, mental health. What are we doing? I mean, how are we talking about these things in a holistic way? I don't really see that. So, with Kanye West, like, I personally believe that, he's a creative genius, but I'm also clear, and it's been made clear by his family and even himself, that he's not well. And that we really should not, train the light on him. Like, we should allow him to, choose whether or not he wants to be well. Because the things that are coming across through that person at this moment are not necessarily representative of who we think Kanye West, might actually be. Like, is it the monster talking? Is it the lack of medication talking? Is it the addiction talking? Like, who's talking? And so for me, like, I want to have compassion for Kanye West, and I want the light to be trained away from him so that he can get well. So
You don't want that to be your leader, the leader of this country.
I
No,
mean,
not at all. I don't
Yeah,
want somebody that's
so-
got bipolar to be the leader of my country. No.
Right.
well, I think that is possible, but that person needs to be aware of the fact that they're bipolar, and they need to have a regimen so that they are actually, able to be effective in the role. I'm not going to say that a person, with any type of illness shouldn't have the opportunity, to govern and to serve their constituents. But, I don't believe that person is Kanye West right now.
Why are we not speaking out against the rioting that's still happening, the looting? Why like Philly? Why isn't people like
Ooh-wee.
Meek Mill not coming out and saying, stop it? Or why isn't someone like Jay-Z not saying something about the rioting?
Well, okay. I'm not going to speak for either one of those gentlemen. What I will say is that, we are at a point where all bets are off in terms of the value of black life being continually ignored, right? And there being a continual slaughter, extrajudicial murder, state-sanctioned violence on unarmed black people in their homes, in their cars, while they're
daily
walking
basis.
on the street.
And no
Like,
prosecution.
Exactly. So at this point, it seems like property is the only thing these systems respect. So if it really is about that, then I understand why people are like, let's burn this bitch to the ground,
Yeah.
right? If that's what it's going to take to get
True.
your attention, okay, so we're about to set it off. Now, for me, it's another opportunity for us to really look at our power as voters. Because prosecutors and attorney generals are very often elected positions. They're not always appointed. So Daniel Cameron, for example, in Louisville, Kentucky, his position is an elected position. If we don't want the outcomes like we're seeing from this, grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case, then we have to elect different people to fill these positions. And I hope people start to draw those connections. And, we should focus less on our response to continually being decimated for no good reason and for any bad reason. We should focus less on that and focus more on how can we mobilize to get people in office who are actually going to do their jobs. He sat on that case for 100 and some days.
Yep.
I mean, really?
And everybody in those positions is supposed to be working for us, for the country.
Right. And listen, if any of
Not
us don't
against.
do our job for 100+ days, guess who's
You're
getting fired?
Exactly.
We are.
But we don't have the blue wall.
So, yeah, there's that.
Good. We're gonna get ready to wrap it up. I'm gonna ask you one more question, because I know you gotta leave. Now, if we do lose, if Democrats lose the election,
Oh, I
which
just
is
got a horrible
very
feeling.
possible.
Listen, I don't trust the polls. Okay, so I feel like Biden Harris need to go hard and push hard and do everything they can up until the last second. Because I was at Hillary's victory party turned, oh well, it didn't happen the way we thought it
Right,
would
that
party,
quickly.
and the level of like feeling like the whole rug had been pulled out from everyone in that room. It was just devastating. So, I'm kind of bracing myself for that possibility. But,
I mean, then they're also filing hundreds of lawsuits to have ballots thrown out.
yeah. And the other thing that we have to be concerned about is the fact that the Supreme Court now, with whom a contested election would rest, is now Trump leaning. And that's a problem. The judiciary is not going to be objective here should this election be contested. So, we got to prepare for a number of different scenarios, but I am hoping that people will overwhelm the system, because if there's a landslide, then it's going to be much harder to contest.
And that's already happening, at least with the mail-in votes, with the amount of people that have already voted, the early voting.
We don't know what they voted, though.
True. Yeah, and we know that
And
the
we can't
polls-
trust the polls. The
Exactly.
polls are saying
We
what
can't
they're
pay
saying,
attention
but
to that, because look what
yeah,
happened
yeah.
when he got in there in the first place.
So, if you want the direction of this country to move differently, then you got to go and cast your vote.
And you gotta
And
push your
remember that
senators,
these are the midterms. Exactly. These are also the midterm elections. So, you have the opportunity to flip the Senate. And, if we had a Democratic run Senate, then we would have had an impeachment and a removal. And that's the difference, is that the GOP runs the Senate, and that's why, they closed ranks on their boy and they didn't remove him. And, my attitude about it is, one, an impeached president should not be making lifetime appointments, period. And and that's a loophole that I feel like needs to be closed. The second piece to that is, if you've been impeached, that's basically the equivalent of you being written up by the American people. So if you've been written up, then you should be on timeout. Like, you
Exactly.
shouldn't get to
You're
just
obviously
continue to
not-
operate the
yeah.
way you would have had you not been impeached.
You're not doing your job.
So, we have some changes to make about
was
how we
empowered.
govern as well.
He was empowered by the impeachment.
Yeah, it emboldened
Yeah.
him and his base.
Tambisa, it is such a delight for you to come and share your knowledge and wisdom. And you need to be a political analyst. You need to be on
Well, fun fact, my degree is in international relations and ethnic studies. I just wound up in entertainment because of an internship. So, I'm a student of politics, and I follow it, and, I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to get informed, to learn how civics works, to learn how branches of government operate, so that we're not barking up the wrong tree when we're making our demands.
I dig it. Timmy said, let everyone know where they can find you at, your media handle.
Okay, so on IG, I am Official Lip Game. You can't really see it now because I have my mask on, but
Love that name.
Vote, boo, vote. So Official Lip Game on IG, and then on Twitter, it's Put Your Dreams First, which is the title of my book, which is about women in the entertainment industry. Going to be updating that and re-releasing it. The second edition will be coming hopefully in 2021 or early 2022.
Ooh.
So Put Your Dreams First is PUTYR Dreams, the number 1 ST on Twitter. So I'll see y'all on the socials, and thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to meet all of you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Big Will, you the
You're welcome.
man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, we are going to come back in a few minutes. We're going to come back with DJ Karen Von Geraldine. Oh, my God. This is the Triple Radio Show. Big Will, Jenner G, Hardy Brooklyn. We'll be right back.